What's up, everyone? Welcome into another episode of Instant Reaction here on the Colts Audio Network and on the Colts YouTube page. I'm JJ Stankevitz, joined as always by Colts Ring of Honor wide receiver Bill Brooks to break down the Colts' latest game. Bill, the Colts are 16-10 winners over the Miami Dolphins. It was an ugly game, a grinded out type game. Bill, I think the highlight for me was watching Dallas Clark go into the Ring of Honor at halftime. You had a chance to be down on the field. You were honored, obviously, among the Colts Ring of Honor members there at the game. Just real quick before we get into the actual football game, how cool is it seeing Dallas, number 44, go into the Ring of Honor up close like you got to see today?
It was great to see Dallas go into the Ring of Honor, and I think everyone knows what type of person Dallas is because you saw all these guys come back for that ceremony for Dallas on the field today, and it's great to be around Dallas. Dallas is a fun type of guy. He likes to have fun, and he tells jokes and things like that. But he was a tremendous football player for the Indianapolis Colts, played well, instrumental in helping the team go to the Super Bowl, of course, and winning the Super Bowl. But Dallas is a great guy, and we had fun this weekend. Saturday night was nice to get to see the guys at the reception, and then, of course, today in the ceremony, him being inducted into the Ring of Honor.
Yeah, really, really cool halftime ceremony. If you were at the stadium, you got to hear Dallas talk, you got to hear Jim Irsay speak. Just a really neat thing. You saw Peyton Manning put the jersey on Dallas. One
Yes.
more 18 to 44 connection right there at Lucas Oil Stadium. All right, so let's talk about the football game, though. Something Mo Alley Cox told me is on the sideline at one point during this game, Shane Steichen came up to the offense and he said, F it, we're going to win ugly today. And that's how this game went. I mean, the Colts, I think, understood, hey, Miami's going to really struggle to move the football. If we can avoid turnovers and, yeah, he's missing some throws. It wasn't good, very good early on, especially he's 4-13, I believe, at the half. But look, if we just take care of the football, we make just enough plays, we're going to be able to eke out a win. That's exactly how this game played out, Bill. And something that, it needs to get better. It
Uh,
absolutely needs to get better. We will have
Definitely.
plenty of time this week to discuss how and why it needs to get better. We'll do that on the official Colts podcast. I'm sure Rick Venturi's going to get into that on Inside Football with Rick Venturi on Wednesday. But Bill, just as a player, when you have a couple of these ugly wins, like the Colts had against Tennessee last week, they had against Miami this week. Something I thought back to was last year, weeks 9 and 10. The Colts beat the Panthers and they beat the Patriots. Neither of those games were particularly, let's say, good on offense. And then the Colts, they got into November, they figured some stuff out, they went on a bit of a run. As a player, when you get some of these ugly wins and you have an opportunity to make the improvements you can make count, how important is that to just come out of a game and say, hey, we're 4-3. We know we got to get better, but if we get better, we can be a real player in this playoff race.
Yeah, I mean, as a player, you look at it and say, hey, no, we don't want to play this way. We want to play a lot better than what we have been playing, especially these last couple of weeks. But you know that there's room for improvement, and you know that you can get better. And that's the positive thing you have to take out of it, that you know what, we can get better. We know we're better than this. So we just need to find a way to win. And the good teams do that. Every week's not going to be perfect. Every week's not going to be you're on your A game, so to speak. There's going to be some times where things are going to be difficult and you have to win ugly. At the end of the day, it's still a win no matter what. But yes, you are frustrated. You want to play better. You want to put more points on the board. You want to create more turnovers. You want to do all those things that help you win football games. But you know, sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. And you just have to take what you can get and you try to make the best of it and you find a way to win no matter what it is. If it's, on special teams, if it's on defense, if it's on offense, you just try to find a way to win and you just get that win. You can move on to the next week, but you have to try to get better moving forward. And I think the Colts will try to do that, especially starting this week.
So Anthony Richardson starts this game off, Bill, in the first quarter. He goes 1 of 7 for 14 yards. That one completion went to A.D. Mitchell. You get into the first half and he loses the fumble just on kind of he drops the snap is kind of what it looked like. on a drive where the Colts got down deep into Dolphins territory.
Yes.
Just some mistakes that have been a problem for Richardson this year, just missing throws, stuff that the thing, Bill, that it keeps kind of throwing me is like this wasn't a problem last year for
Mm-mm.
Richardson. And I think he took a little bit to get into the flow of this game, and once he got into the second half, it did get better. But early on, some of those misses he was having are just things that you got to clean up. The one thing I will say though is Shane Steichen, after the game, he took responsibility for the offense's struggles just completely, and said essentially what I heard from Shane is that Miami gave some stuff to the Colts that the stuff wasn't open. They were getting some looks on defense that maybe they didn't have the right play calls in for. I thought Shane was pretty forceful in saying, "Hey, this one's on me," in a way that was, I think, pretty genuine. Like,
Mhm.
not to say that when Shane says, "Hey, it's on me," it's not he's not lying about that. But this one was sort of like it was pretty specific, I think, in what Shane was saying, and I think a lot of credit goes to Anthony Weaver, the Dolphins defensive coordinator, for giving some looks that the Colts struggled with, and then the players on that Miami defense, especially Jaylen Ramsey, Kuhu, the slot corner, those guys had really solid games, I thought, on the back end.
Yeah, they played well on the back end. But as far as the Colts go, yes, Anthony, he's struggling at times in certain things. And you know what? We're looking for him to get better, and he will get better. I believe he will get better. It's going to take time. We've talked about him having experience and going through some different times of the game and just making sure that, you do the things that you're supposed to do to not put the team in a bad situation. And unfortunately, he had that one fumble and down there, and that hurt the team. But he has to continue to find ways to get better. If right now he just needs to go into the film room, how he plays, watch where he makes mistakes at, and try to improve on those things. And then also not just try to improve on them, but go out in the field and work on those things. And it's working with the coaches, it's working by yourself on your own time to try to improve and get better. So he needs to do that. And as far as Shane is concerned, what coaches, their responsibility is to put the players in the best position to make plays out there in the football field. And sometimes, the plays they dial up aren't the best plays for the team at that moment. And give Miami credit. They did a good job as far as doing some different things, I'm sure, out there to kind of confuse the Colts offense. And Jalen Ramsey, as you said, had a good game, put some pressure. He came off the slot a couple of times in regards to putting pressure on AR and blitzing and trying to sack him. So give him credit, give the Dolphins credit, some of the things they did. But in saying that, the players on the Colts have to make plays. You have to make plays. You have to be on your game and understand those things. And hopefully, some of the throws that AR had early in the game, hopefully he'll improve on those and he'll work on those and find out where he made a mistake out there in the football field. And one of the things I did, if I dropped a pass, I quickly went through my head. I went through my basic fundamentals of catching a pass. What
Mhm.
happened? Why I didn't catch a pass? And if it's something I went through on my checklist that I didn't do, that was the reason why I made a mistake. Now I did that during the game, but I also did that the following day on Monday when I watched the film and try to work on those things, make sure that that didn't happen again. So maybe Anthony can go through that process and hopefully get better. And if it continues to do that, he'll get better down the stretch.
Yeah, you mentioned the blitz, Bill. Anthony Richardson finished averaging 4.2 yards per attempt against Miami's blitz. He averaged 7 yards per attempt when Miami did not blitz.
Mhm.
Richardson on the day, he finishes 10 to 21 for 86 yards, a 58.8 passer rating. Oh, wait, sorry, that was CJ Stroud's line today. He
I think it was 10
finishes
to
10 to
24.
24 for, see what I did there? 10 to 24 for 129 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, a passer rating of 59.2. Hello, human resources, if you get that reference. Uh, Richardson, I mean, look, this was not a very good game for Anthony Richardson. I think we can all say that. We can all acknowledge that.
Hmm.
The Colts need him to play better. But I think that what I heard from players in the locker room is they appreciated the grit that Anthony Richardson showed, the mentality that he showed during this game. And when the Colts did need him to make a play late in the game with his legs, he was able to do that. And Richardson down the stretch, he was 4 or 5 down the stretch, and then he ran the ball pretty well, especially in some key situations. So there's still enough there. You're probably not going to win a lot of games scoring 16 points, especially over these next 5 games, Bill, where the Colts opponents have a combined record of 22 and 10, starting with the Houston Texans next week. But for right now, this game was going to become a rock fight, and on offense at least, I thought there was just a little bit there that you can say, hey, you know what? Tyler Goodson ran the ball really well. You saw Michael Pittman Jr. dig out Chop Robinson on that 8-yard run that Richardson had to convert a first down on third down in the fourth quarter. Like there's little things that wound up leading the Colts to win this football game on offense.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what you want. You talk about Michael Pittman there, and in regards to him making that block downfield. A lot of times, the wide receiver, there are going to be times where you might get 10 targets and you have a big day. There might be times when you only get 2 targets, but there are other things you need to do out there on the football field to help your team win football games. Pitt does it blocking. He likes to play physical, and he goes out there and he blocks. He makes a big block out there. Other guys, Ashton Dulin makes big blocks. So you want to be a complete player out there because you want to help your team win no matter what it takes to win a game. So for Pitt to go out there and block and be an important part of the offense in regards to not maybe catching the ball, but doing other things, blocking, running routes, hopefully getting other people open, things like that. That says a lot about Pitt of being a leader out there in a football team and the guys really caring about the team and caring about a win. And that was the most important thing.
Yeah, also just like yet another really good day for the Colts offensive line.
Yes.
They're not going to get enough credit just coming out of this game, but like Bernard Ryman, like get this guy's Pro Bowl stuff going, like please, because I think he's playing at a really high level. Quentin Nelson obviously is looking awesome. He came back in. I think he only missed like one play after he got maybe a
Yep.
little bit banged up. Ryan Kelly had another really good game. You saw Braden Smith have a nice game. Dalton Tucker continues to hold his own in there. So, like the last thing I want to say about the offense, Bill, is like you may kind of look at the Colts right now and say, like, well, what do they do really well on offense? They're not scoring a ton of points. They struggle to complete passes. Their run game maybe has been a little bit inefficient, especially with Jonathan Taylor out.
Yes.
Here's the one thing the Colts do really well on offense that I know is they block. And those guys up front will set a tone. And I would feel a lot worse about this team, I guess,
Yes.
if maybe it was a little bit reversed and it was like, oh yeah, this offense is great when they can protect and when they can block, but they can't do that consistently. You can build on an offensive line that's playing as well as this Colts offensive line is playing right now.
Exactly. With the offensive line playing well, I have enough confidence in Shane that he can do different things to help this offense move the ball down the field, get the ball into the receiver's hands, make sure that JT, when he's back and he's healthy, he can run and make some big plays out there. So you have to have an offensive line that can give you time to throw the ball and, of course, open up the holes to run. And Tyler Goodson has some good runs today, and Trey Sermon did the same. He has some good runs today as well. So that offensive line, as long as they can stay consistent and play like they have been playing, I expect the Colts offense to get better as the weeks go on.
All right, let's talk about the Colts defense in this game, allowing Miami just to score 10 points. The Dolphins, Jonnu Smith was kind of their entire passing offense. He catches 7 passes for 96 yards with a touchdown. I think if you told us, coming into the game that Jonnu Smith was going to be the only player on Miami to go over 30 yards receiving, it would be like, oh, okay,
You would
Colts
take
probably going to
that.
win this game. You're going
Yeah,
to
you would
take
take
that.
that in a heartbeat.
Miami does have some success running the ball. Devon Achane, Raheem Mostert, Jaylen Wright, all of some good moments in this game, but ultimately Miami really, really struggled to throw the football. And I want to start here before I get into some of the coverage stuff the Colts did. The Colts have had to play with a backup quarterback a lot the last 2 years. They almost made the playoffs. They almost won the division last year with a backup quarterback. Joe Flacco steered the Colts to a win over the Steelers. He almost led them to a win over the Jaguars if the defense could have made a stop late, and then he led them to a win over Tennessee. Meanwhile, Miami can't get the ball to Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle. And the point I want to make here is this is a Shane Steichen appreciation moment right here. That a backup quarterback comes in for the Colts and it does not torpedo their entire season. A backup comes in for the Dolphins, and you got Tyler Huntley and Tim Boyle in there today. Miami was running a lot of stuff that looked like it was maybe downfield for Hill and Waddle, who are obviously two of the best downfield wide receivers in the NFL. But there was not, I never got the sense that Miami was trying to force the ball into the hands of Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle today, which I think was maybe a product partly of how the Colts are playing their coverage to not let
Hmm.
those guys beat them. But
Yep.
at a point, don't you just need to throw them the ball? And they didn't do that. And I think that benefited the Colts here because Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle, it was like a can't and won't. Like they can't get the ball to them and they won't get the ball to them. Maybe the Colts would have had a pick if they threw the ball to them. You don't know. I rewatched all of Miami's passing attempts. There weren't a ton of opportunities that they left out there, but a lot of it was because they were throwing the ball quick and getting it out quick to Jonnu Smith or Devon Achane out of the backfield. Uh, so Bill, I wanted to make the point that like we have seen Shane Steichen adapt to
Yes.
whoever the quarterback is, and it doesn't always look great, but you know what? He finds a way to win, and that is something that you should not take for granted in the Colts head coach.
Oh, definitely shouldn't take it for granted. And, as I mentioned earlier, coaches' responsibilities, one of their responsibilities is to put the guys in position to make plays. And you know that you have, say, for instance, Miami, you have Waddle and Hill, two explosive players on your team. You have to try to find a way to get the ball to them, knowing that if the defense is going to play a too high shell defense and try to take away the deep explosive passes, they're going to do some different things in regards to trying to take Tyreek Hill away and Waddle, Jaylen Waddle away. You have to find ways to get them the ball some different ways. Now, you have to understand your quarterback, what his strengths are, what his weaknesses are, and try to work around those strengths so you can try to get the ball to your playmakers there. And, you talk about Shane. Shane does a nice job. When Flacco's in there, he does certain things for Flacco and the offense so they can move the ball down the field. When Gardner Minshew played last year, he did certain things for Gardner last year to make sure that he can get the ball out to the guys so they can make some plays. And of course, with Anthony Richardson now. So it's important for coaches to try to make sure they put the guys in spots where they can be successful, but you have to understand the player's strengths and weaknesses and the strength and weakness of your offense during that time. And Shane does a nice job of doing that, trying to put the guys in a position to make big plays.
Jonnu Smith, by the way, today, career high in receptions with 7 and his second highest single game yardage total at 96. The flip side of that, Jaylen Waddle was targeted twice. He's
Yeah.
never been targeted fewer than 4 times in a game in his career. He narrowly edged out the worst game of his career. That would be in 2022. He had 1 catch for 9 yards against San Francisco. Tyreek Hill has not had this low of an output, this being 1 catch for 8 yards, since
Only
he
two
was traded to
targets.
the Dolphins.
Yeah.
So, at some point, maybe Miami could have forced the ball to these guys, but at the other point, you got to give Jalen Jones and Kenny Moore II and Sam Womack III and Nick Cross and Julian Blackman a ton of credit because look, Tyreek Hill, I looked it up, and throw Odell Beckham in here too.
Yes.
Odell Beckham, Jaylen Waddle, and Tyreek Hill came into this game combined, Bill, with 22,000 receiving yards between them. They had 19 yards today.
Wow. Wow. Good job on the defense. I know Kenny made a nice play, break up a pass to Odell Beckham out there. Jalen Jones made some nice plays. So give Gus Bradley and that defense some credit for what they did, and not just the game plan, but those guys executing the game plan and going out there. Earlier, I talked about in the pregame show that it's going to be important for the secondary and for the defense to communicate and make sure they know where everyone's at and they know their assignments. And today they did that. They knew their assignments and knew where everyone's at. They did a good job of taking away the explosive players out there and not allowing them to get down the field, make explosive plays, to flip the game around, and give them credit, give Gus Bradley credit, give all the players credit, give Alubi credit, give all those guys credit, Grant Stewart credit, give those players credit for what they did out there in the football field and how they performed against the Miami Dolphins.
By the way, Tyreek Hill has played 130 games in the NFL. Now, this is only the seventh time he's been targeted two or fewer times in a single game. And I mean, again, like you
You have
said,
to get
Bill,
him the
I think that
ball. You just have to
right,
get him the ball somehow.
right. But I think the way the Colts played their coverage was we're not going to let him get the ball. Now, maybe that opened up some stuff for Jonnu Smith, but fine. Like if Jonnu Smith is going to be the guy to beat you in this game, and it's not Tyreek Hill or Jaylen Waddle, that okay, you'll take that bet every time. And Smith got him on the touchdown. He had some missed tackles on, third and goal from the 10, a play that, the Colts probably could have made there. But
Right.
again, I also watched some of these snaps that Jalen Jones is having, and the PBU he had on Waddle was a great play where he sticks on Waddle, he drives down on that throw, and he cuts it off. Like that's a real play right there.
That's a big play.
This is not just the Dolphins have an awful quarterback situation and they have guys who can't get the ball to them. When they tried to get them the ball, there wasn't much there.
And that's what you want. That's what you want, those guys right in their pocket, so to speak, so that they don't have any space, any room out there to catch the ball and make run after the catch and make big yards after the catch. The Colts DBs did a nice job out there today. They just made sure they stuck to their assignments, kept those guys in front of them, make sure they did not make any big plays out there. And you know what? Jalen Jones also makes another play in end of the game where he hits and tackles. I think it's Achan, I think, out
Keeps
there
them in
and
bounds.
keeps him in bounds and let the clock run and run. That's a big play. I mean, people might not think it's a big play, but that's a big play. A lot of time runs off the clock, and it makes it hard for the team to get back to the line of scrimmage and save some time on the clock so they can have more opportunities to score a touchdown. But give Jalen Jones credit and just give the DBs credit. They played well today. I thought they did some nice things out there from what I saw, and give them credit.
I want to talk about the clock real quick.
Mhm.
Um, the timeout that the Colts forced Miami to take in
Huge,
midway through the fourth quarter,
huge.
huge shout out goes to Colts game manager Charlie Gelman right there because to it's third and goal. The Colts throw incomplete, so fourth and goal. The clock stopped, and the ball's on the 4 yard line. So it's a 22-yard field goal. The Colts send their kicking team out, and then zoop, they come right back out, to the sideline. The offense goes back on the field, and you see Mike McDaniel, cleats on, full sprint down the sideline to call the timeout. And okay, I don't know if the Colts are going to run a play there. Miami obviously did not have the right personnel on the field if the Colts were going to snap the ball. But that was a kick to give the Colts the lead in a game that was ugly. I think the Colts are, if I had to guess, we're probably going to say, we'll take the delay a game and move it back 5 yards, and it's a 27-yard field goal. Matt Gay is going to make it anyway. But Mike McDaniel called timeout because he was worried enough that the Colts are going to run a play there on offense. Well, Miami really needed that timeout late in the game.
Exactly. Exactly. That's a big play. I mean, that's a big play. I mean, Miami wish they could have had that timeout later on in the game, the one that they used there. But you know what? Give credit to Shane Steichen and everyone on the coach sideline there that, hey, make them use a timeout, get them out there to think that they're going to run a play, and they didn't. And a smart play. I mean, those are little things people don't might not pay attention to, but they add up to be big things at the end of the game. And so when you have make those little plays and they're successful, they add up to big things. I promise you, Miami wish they had that timeout at the end of the
Mhm.
game. Because if they had that timeout at the end of the game, it could have changed totally how they approach going down there and trying to score a touchdown at the end of the game. So give credit to the coach's coaching staff and what they did out there just to make Miami waste a timeout.
By the way, one other thing that I noticed when I was rewatching just a little bit of the TV copy was the first play that Miami had on their last ditch drive. Quick throw to Tyreek Hill. It's his only catch of the day. He gets tackled. Zaire Franklin's in there punching at the ball, and Tyreek gets up and starts jawing with Zaire Franklin as the clock is running. Like Z just get kind of stirring it a little bit there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
21
th-
seconds ran off the clock before Miami ran another play
well,
in
those are
a
the those
hurry
are
up
the little,
situation there.
those are the little things that you want to do in regards to, you know what, get them out of their what they should be thinking about as far as in the 2 minute drill there to get up to the line of scrimmage as quick as possible and get another playoff where Tyreek Hill is jawing with them. That takes some time to get back to the line of scrimmage, and then the clock's still ticking. So time's wasting for them. And, good play, smart play by Z to kind of get in Tyreek's head a little bit.
Yeah, and maybe not the most heads up play by Tyreek Hill there.
No, no.
But then I mean it pays off the Miami not having that timeout, not just in that okay they get the ball back with a minute 51 to go, but then you get down late and Bill, you mentioned the tackle Jaylen Jones had to keep Devon Achane in bounds. Well, now it's 3rd and 2, and clock's running. You got under 20 seconds to go. Tim Boyle goes up there and spikes it.
Box it.
And but then you have to throw the ball to the sideline in that moment. Because the ball's on the 33. You're not taking a shot at the end zone. You got to get the ball to the sideline. And that play, Tim Boyle doesn't look anywhere else. He stares down Malik Washington and then throws it 10 yards over his head. But everything was rushed because they didn't have the extra timeout. And that goes back to the Colts and their game operation making Miami feel like they had to take a timeout in that situation. Those little things in a game that is 16-10 really, really matter. And kudos to the Colts. Again, Charlie Gellman, Shane Steichen, everyone involved in that for getting that thing done because that played a pretty significant impact on this game.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what you got to do. I mean, a lot of times in the game, you have to take those little, hopefully, advantages and make sure that you could take advantage of those opportunities and put it on your side. So that way, if something does happen, you know what? Maybe it can affect them down the road, maybe the opponents down the road. And this did that with the Miami Dolphins. They lost a timeout. They didn't have a timeout. So then at the end of the game, they had to clock it on 3rd down. Then they had a 4th down. They had to go for it. And then, like you say, he throws it out of bounds, and you know what? The game is over, essentially. For the most part, the game is over, except for the Colts just kneeling down and running out the clock at the end there. So, give credit to, like I said, the coaches for making Miami take a timeout earlier in the 4th quarter and making them waste it, and they didn't have it at the end of the game.
All right, one other thing to talk about here on defense. The Colts linebackers in this game. Goodness gracious. I mean, Grant Stewart, 18 tackles in his first real action on defense with the Colts. Zaire Franklin, 16 tackles, a forced fumble, a huge forced fumble deep in Colts territory. When Jalen Carlies was out there before he left with an injury, he had a good game. He had a sack. He had a TFL. That group right there, not having EJ Speed against this Miami rushing offense and then losing Jalen Carlies, who started at the will, was remarkably impressive. The depth of that room, the standard that's in that room. Shegu Alubi comes into the game. He has a huge forced fumble. He then picks it up as a Tecmo Bowl return to get 18 yards and set the Colts up on a short field. I mean, seriously, like watching that, the way that he returned it from like sideline to sideline and then cuts it back, I was like, this is like Bo Jackson and Tecmo Bowl type stuff. It really, really impressive game all across that linebacker room. You talk about next man up, and it's sort of this, every team has to deal with it. But in that room, literally every linebacker who's on the 53-man roster had to play, except for EJ Speed in this game, and they all played at a very, very high level.
Yeah, I mean, you see Stewart out there making all those play tackles, 18 tackles. That's amazing for him to go out there and play and step up when he has an opportunity to go out there and step up. EJ Speed is not playing, and then Carlisle, he gets hurt also. And then you have Alubi out there making big plays, a forced fumble recovery. So it was nice to see those guys out there playing and stepping up when they have the opportunity. And it's good to see that when they do have the opportunity, they're prepared. And that's one of the things that you have to do as a backup. You have to make sure that you're prepared at all times. You don't know when you're going to have to go in the game because you don't know what the coaches are going to do. You don't know if someone's going to get injured or not, but you have to be prepared. And I heard Grant talking about him being prepared and just going over things and mentally being ready and prepared for the game and going out there playing on defense. And give him credit. He played well, and you know what? An individual that, you know what, he plays with a whole bunch of energy.
Hmm.
And I know he talked about playing with enthusiasm as well. So, you know, that can be contagious, playing with that enthusiasm out there on the football field and playing with that type of energy. You need that on the defensive side of the ball. And he does that every time he goes out there on the football field. He does it mainly on special teams, but when he played tonight on defense, he did a nice job out there playing with a lot of energy.
Grant Stewart has the most tackles in a single game this season, and it's the most tackles a Colts player
Wow.
has had in a game since Shaq Leonard had 19 his rookie year at Washington. So a
Wow.
really impressive game. And then Zaire Franklin, I mean,
Yeah.
same deal. Guy gets 15 tackles. Just the forced fumble again was a really impactful play, and then just some of those little things like we mentioned, him again kind of stirring the pot on Tyreek Hill and making a couple extra seconds bleed off the clock. All that stuff matters in a game again, Bill. That's 16-10. The other thing that matters, Matt Gay had a good day today.
Yes.
50 plus yarder for the first time this year. That was really good to see.
Glad
Be
to see
remiss
that.
if I did not mention that as well. The Colts are going to go to Houston, Bill, a week from Sunday, with a chance to tie the Texans atop the AFC
Yes.
South. So, whatever you're feeling about this game, it's over. The Colts won it, and they have a chance now next week in Houston against a team that lost to Green Bay today and had a lot of issues on offense, even though Joe Mixon had a pretty nice day. Give me an interesting one down at NRG Stadium next week. Bill and I will have a full breakdown of that game Sunday night once I get back from deep in the heart of Texas. Thank you for listening to this episode or watching this episode of Instant Reaction here on the Colts Audio Network and on the Colts YouTube page. Bill and I will talk to you next week after the Colts face the Houston Texans. So long.